You're exhausted because you're treating life like a sprint. And the cost of that is way higher than you actually think. I learned this the hard way, over 20 Arctic winters. I'm Ben, Polar Chef Ben, 20 years up north, from the darkness of Svalbard to the peaks of Lofoten. If you're ready to stop treating life like a sprint, scan this code, polarchefben.com. Everything is there. Now, let's talk about what it actually costs to move too fast. We live in a world that tells you faster is better, more is better, hustle, grind. But the Arctic doesn't work that way. The Arctic doesn't adjust to you, you adjust to it. The Arctic is just like a filter. It's not for everyone, and that's okay. It's not supposed to be. The people who stay are the ones who want to be here. They adjust, they wait, they learn its rhythm, and they stay because they choose to. So today, I want to share 3 things the Arctic taught me about the cost of moving too fast and how to stop. That pause. That's the gateway to everything else. Most people can't sit with silence anymore, but the silence is where the signal lives. The noise is just distraction. All right, let's start with what it actually costs to force things. The cost of forcing things. In the Arctic, the weather doesn't just change, it attacks. The weather changes very quickly in the Arctic. The Arctic is much more extreme. Things happen quickly, especially here in Lofoten. The weather is so unstable. We can have like snow for 10 minutes and then it'll rain and then the sun will come out and then the sky will clear. So you can never really prepare. But the best thing you can do is have many layers of clothes, and this will allow you to take off if you're too warm or to add on if you're not warm enough. And a clear sky can turn into a whiteout in 20 minutes. So you need to like plan ahead, and you can be somewhere, the weather can change, you can get stuck because of how bad the weather is, especially on Svalbard. We had some really, really bad storms there. And the most important thing was just to keep a clear head. And when you push, the Arctic reminds you who is in charge. So you can only push so far. The thing is, you have to stay focused and stay relaxed and don't try to push too hard. And just see what's around you. Look, observe your environment, and always have a place that you can go if there's some kind of storm. And for example, on Svalbard, it's very common that we leave the doors unlocked, and not so much like, especially if you live in an apartment building, the front door is always unlocked, but usually people's houses too is unlocked, because if there's a polar bear, you need to have somewhere you can run, and you just run, you just try to open any door and you go inside. So you need to, there's a lot different challenges in the Arctic. I mean, on Svalbard, you had polar bears. Here in Lofoten, I've seen a lot of moose. And like, of course, moose aren't like, they're not predators or anything, but they're huge. And if you get too close, or if it's the right time of year, they can be very aggressive, and they're very big, and they can do a lot of damage. So the important thing is you have to know that the Arctic is in charge and not you. And in a whiteout, if you panic, it can lead to disaster. So you don't want to do things that are going to make the situation worse. You need to do things that will make it better for you. So the best thing you can do when it's a serious storm like that is to just wait until the storm passes, and then you check, make sure, see the damage, and then you move forward intact instead of trying to force the movement during a storm. Just stay put, let the storm pass, and then you move on. And the main thing from this is that forcing things costs you your energy, your clarity, and your peace. And it's not worth it. Like the best thing is just to take it easy. All right, let's start with now. Chat, I want to hear from you. When in life Where in life are you pushing where you should be pausing? Now think about that for a minute. Where are you pushing where it might be smarter to pause? Drop it in the chat. I want to know what's on your mind, and let me hear what you have to say. Okay, and that's the cost of forcing it. Now let's talk about how you can actually fix your pace. How to fix your pace. 3 practices I brought south with me. Practice number 1, one thing at a time. No multitasking. I know everybody wants to try to multitask and do so many things at one time, but I think there's a difference between multitasking and stacking functions. Sometimes multitasking can just be like mixing things that don't really go together, like cutting grass and reading a book. Like, how can you cut grass and read a book unless you have like one of these robot lawnmowers? But if you're pushing a lawnmower focused on cutting the grass, then how can you read a book unless you have an audio book, right? So that's different. So that would be more like stacking functions. That's the point I'm trying to make. Like, multitasking is more like you put things together that don't really make sense. So if you're cutting grass and then you're trying to read a paper book, it's not going to work. But if you're cutting grass and then you have an audio book, that's different. So things need to make sense when you stack them. Then it will work much better than just trying to multitask and just mix things that don't need to be mixed together. I also think one thing at a time can mean different things. For example, perhaps you start 2 things that kind of make sense together, but then say you can't start number 3 because it's waiting for number 2. So then you start 1 and 2, you get those kind of like, 1 will probably be finished, 2 will be 50%, and then when 2 is finished, you start 3. So this is also another way you can stack functions. Number 2, pause before you respond. What I like to do is when someone asks me something, or if there's some challenge that I need to fix, don't just rush into it. Take 3 seconds, count to 3, take a deep breath, and then respond, or then do what it is you need to do. And number 3, create a daily ritual around something. This is super important, especially in the Arctic when there's not many things happening. It's important that we create some kind of ritual. So for example, I like to have my coffee, and that's why I have this coffee here, because it relaxes me. It helps me to just take a moment to pause. Some people like to smoke. Some people like to drink coffee. Some people like to go for a walk. I also like to go for a walk. I will take my dogs, go for a walk 2 or 3 times a day. And some people just like to have silence. Like, silence is also nice. Just to sit, wake up earlier than everybody else in your house if you have many people in the house, or just to, just take like that. That moment of silence right there was very nice. So have a ritual, because this will kind of help you to stay focused. And it really helps me to stay focused. And like, I like this Wednesday Live because I can come have a coffee. I can share some information with you. I get some feedback from the chat. It works out really well for me. And those are the 3 prompts. Okay, chat, now I have a question for you. Which of these 3 prompts would help you most right now? I want you to type focus, pause, or ritual in the chat. Let me know how you feel. And those are the practices. But here's the thing that surprised me most. The unlikely truth. I stopped trying to do everything and got more done. Like, before I thought I had to do everything. And this kind of goes back to that rule where there's the 20% and 80% and 80%, 20%. And before I was so focused on doing the 20%, before I was so focused on doing the 80%, that got me the 20% of the results. And now I focus a lot of my energy on the 20% that gets me the 80% of the results. So you can find it, and it's not exact, but there's a way to find where you get 20% done, that the most critical 20%, and you get 80% of the results. And then of course you can use the energy to use the last 80% of your energy to get that last 20%. But like, is it really worth it? Is it really necessary? And I found, especially from living in the Arctic, from living on Svalbard, from living in Lofoten, that that last 20% is nice, but it's not necessary. And a lot of times you can do it with that 80% that you use 20% of your time to get. And doing less is actually achieving more. So sometimes we feel like we have to do so much, but actually less is better. And you get results that are important, you know? So of course you won't cover everything, but like, do you need to cover everything? That's the question. And slowing down helps you see clearly. And that was a big lesson that I had to learn, was that I would go so quick sometimes and try to have so many things juggling, multitasking, trying to do so many things. And it just turns into a mess. It just turns into a big mess at the end of the day. It's kind of like in a restaurant, you know, like a restaurant that has such a huge menu. It's really challenging for them to keep everything fresh, to have, you know, from my experience, when I go to a restaurant that has a really big menu, a lot of times many things are sold out. And as a chef, I can understand why, because you're trying to have so many things, and it's much more challenging to have a bigger menu. It's much more challenging for freshness, for, you know, the ingredient wise. So the smaller your menu, the better and fresher your ingredients can be, and the more intention and attention you can give to each dish. So that's kind of how it is. Do you want to have a really big menu that's kind of like scattered and that's not really great? Or do you want to focus it and have some dishes that people can only get at your place and they have to come to your place and get? And when you apply this to life, fewer commitments allows you to have deeper connections. And I don't have so many friends, but I feel like the friends that I do have, we have much deeper relationships. And it's basically if you want to go wide or if you want to go deep. And for me, I think it's important to have a balance. You don't want to like not go wide. I'm not saying it's not important to go wide, but you also need to go deep. And just think about it. Like, even if you're looking for gold, if you're looking for diamonds, if you're looking for things, you can look wide, but usually they don't find it. Usually you have to go deeper to find very precious things. So I think that's one example. Like, the deeper you go, the more precious things become. And the unlikely truth is that slowing down gets you much further. So that's one lesson that I had only learned by living in the Arctic. When I was back in the States, I just was like into this dog eat dog philosophy and work, go. I even felt guilty, like taking days off. I even felt guilty when I was sick, taking sick days. And I remember when my wife, from before, we're divorced now, but a previous marriage, she was having our baby, and like I had to beg if I could go to the hospital and be with my wife. And it was just like, that was normal. I like just, oh, please, can I go to the hospital for my wife? And the boss was like, yeah, okay, you can go one day. And then when I came here to Norway, it's like you get Papa permission, which means you have like 10 days where you can go to help your wife or your partner while they're having the baby. And then you also get like 2 to 3 months off just to be with the baby. Like, it's such a huge difference. And I feel like that's all a part of the slowing down. It's just, you have to find the right place. And of course, it's harder to do that if you don't have the system to support it. But then my question would be like, why not seek it out? Why not try to find it or build it? Like, there's different ways to do it, I guess. But one way is just to go to a place where they already have it. Another way would be where you start your own business, or you do your own business where you create that environment for yourself. And I feel like the way forward is going to be a lot of smaller businesses and doing business for yourself and just small scale. Like, even me, I just want to build up where I just have enough to do what I want to do. Like, I don't need to be a billionaire. I'm not really interested in being a billionaire. I just want to have enough to take care of my family, to spend time with my friends, to not have to worry about money. And I think that all comes from slowing down, because it's harder to see if you're just busy. It's really hard to see what's important and what needs to be done. But as soon as I was able to slow down, then I started to see what was important, and I started to see what I needed to focus my time on. And that's when I started to find this critical 20% that has been getting me 80% of the results. So that's the unlikely truth, is that the slower you go, the further you go, the more you understand. Okay, chat, I want to know now from you, what's one thing that you can cut out to slow down right now? Think about it, drop it in the chat. Let me know what your thoughts are. And if any of this is landing for you, if you are ready to stop treating life like a sprint, then here's where you're going to find more information. I want you to scan the code. It's going to lead you to polarchefben.com. It's your door to the square, the community, the tools, everything you need to fix your pace. Okay, chat, before we wrap, I want to leave you with one thing. Slowing down isn't about doing less. It's about doing what matters to you. The Arctic taught me that the best things can't be rushed. Trust, love, mastery, peace, they all take time. And that's okay. That's the point. Thanks for being here today. This is live number 5, the real cost of moving too fast and how to stop. Next week, I'm going to be talking about moving to Norway, where nobody tells you the practical steps, the hidden cost, the mindset shift that's required. If you ever thought about moving north, this is the one you don't want to miss. Wednesday, 6 a.m. Oslo time, bring something warm. Scan the code if you haven't. This will lead you to polarchefben.com. I'm Ben, Polar Chef Ben, and I'm going to see you next week. Thank you for being here today, and have a nice day.